The battlefield was silent now. Smoke curled up from broken ships and fire flickered across the ruins of what had once been a proud human defense fleet. Bodies drifted in the void, metal twisted like paper, and signals of life had almost faded away. Only one human remained, standing among the wreckage. His armor was shattered, his breathing heavy, but his eyes still burned with defiance. He had fought longer than anyone expected. The galaxy's greatest armies had thrown everything at him, wave after wave, until his ship was torn apart and his brothers and sisters were gone. And yet, he still stood, firing his rifle at the swarm of alien machines that circled him like vultures. Every shot echoed through the darkness, not just as a weapon but as a message. Humanity does not fall quietly. Across the stars, alien commanders watched the scene with satisfaction. They whispered to each other that the end of humanity had finally come. For centuries, the humans had been a thorn in their side, too stubborn to bow, too dangerous to leave alive. Now the last soldier was cornered, surrounded by fleets 10 times larger than his own. His fall would be broadcast to every system. The galaxy would celebrate. Humanity would be nothing more than a memory. But as the soldier raised his weapon one final time, something strange happened. His voice, broken but steady, carried through the comms. "We are not gone," he said, as though speaking to the whole galaxy. "We are never gone." And then he charged. The aliens unleashed their fire. Blinding flashes tore across the void, swallowing his figure. His body was thrown against the debris, his armor glowing red with heat. He should have been dead, but he forced himself back up, stumbling forward like a man possessed. He fired one last time, his shot piercing the shield of an alien warship before his weapon cracked and burned in his hands. Silence followed. The soldier fell to his knees, staring into the endless stars. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. Then at last his body collapsed. The last human was gone. The galaxy roared in triumph. On alien worlds, cities celebrated with light and music. Leaders raised their voices, declaring that the age of humanity had ended. There would be no more wars against Earth, no more defiance, no more fear of the Deathworlders who had once stood against entire empires. Humanity was finished, or so they believed. Far away, deep beneath the frozen wastelands of Antarctica, machines began to stir. In caverns untouched by sunlight for centuries, red lights flickered to life. Frost cracked as metal doors shifted, groaning as ancient systems powered up. Beams of energy pulsed through hidden tunnels, carrying signals into the heart of the Earth. For the first time in hundreds of years, the silence beneath the ice was broken by the hiss of machinery and the thrum of awakening power. The galaxy did not know it yet, but humanity's story was not over. The death of the last soldier was not the end. It was the trigger. A signal buried deep in Earth's defense network had been waiting for this moment, waiting for the exact instant when humanity was declared extinct. And with the soldier's fall, the signal spread like wildfire. In the frozen caverns, row after row of towering chambers began to glow. Inside them, shapes stirred, human forms locked in glass coffins, preserved in the cold embrace of cryogenic sleep. Their breath was frozen, their hearts still, but their bodies were perfect, untouched by time. They were not dead. They were waiting. Outside, storms raged across Antarctica, winds howling like the cries of spirits. But within, the first chamber cracked open. Frost spilled into the air and a figure took its first breath in centuries. His eyes opened, bright, sharp, filled with purpose. He was not ordinary. His muscles, his bones, his very blood had been enhanced by technologies lost to history. He was a soldier, but not just any soldier. He was one of Earth's frozen warriors, created for the moment when all hope was lost. And he was not alone. One chamber opened, then another, then another. The caverns echoed with the sound of awakening, the slow, steady rhythm of breathing that had been silent for far too long. Across Earth, hidden bases responded to the signal, their chambers unlocking, their soldiers returning from sleep. The galaxy thought humanity was gone, but beneath the ice an army was awakening, silent, patient, and ready to rise. Above, the stars glittered, unaware of what was coming. Alien fleets broadcast their victory, spreading the news of the last human's fall. But already their words were becoming a lie. For in the cold heart of Earth, the warriors of humanity had opened their eyes, and with every breath they drew, vengeance stirred. The galaxy had declared humanity extinct. But humanity had one last lesson to teach. Extinction was never the end. It was only the beginning. While the galaxy celebrated the end of humanity, faint signals began to creep into the void. At first they seemed like background noise, harmless static lost between stars. But then the signals repeated, slow and steady, like the rhythm of a heartbeat. The source confused alien scientists. It came not from a fleet nor a space station, but from the frozen heart of Earth itself. The reports were dismissed at first. Earth was dead, its cities burned, its skies poisoned. The only living creatures that remained were wild animals roaming through ruins. There was no way humans had survived. To the alien empires, the strange pulse was nothing more than the final echo of dying machines. Yet deep down, a quiet unease spread among those who listened closely. In the great halls of alien councils, debates flared. Some argued it was nothing. Others whispered the word no one dared to speak aloud: contingency. What if the humans had planned for extinction? What if the death of their last soldier was not the end, but the beginning of something worse? Beneath Antarctica's eternal ice, the truth stirred. Massive vaults, older than many alien empires, had been carved into the rock. Inside them rested machines of forgotten design, engines, weapons, and thousands of towering chambers, each holding a silent figure within. For centuries, they had been still, guarded by nothing more than cold and secrecy. Now, one by one, their systems were waking. The pulse that the galaxy detected was not random, it was a call. A trigger built into Earth's final defense, sent the moment humanity's flame seemed to go out. The last human's death was not a defeat. It was the signal. A lone alien vessel, curious and reckless, drifted close to Earth's orbit to investigate. Its scanners pierced the thick clouds and reached down to the frozen wastelands. What they saw unsettled them. Strange heat blooms spread across the ice like veins of fire running beneath the surface. Structures that had been buried for ages were shifting, groaning, alive once more. The ship transmitted data back to its empire, but before the message was complete, its systems failed. Lights flickered, controls went dead, and within minutes the ship was silent. No one ever heard from its crew again. Rumors spread faster than truth. On distant planets, common folk whispered in taverns and marketplaces. They spoke of Earth's revenge, of warriors frozen in ice, of weapons so powerful they had never been used. Mothers hushed their children with tales of humans returning like ghosts in the night. Some laughed at the idea, dismissing it as fear-driven fantasy. But the older races, the ones who had fought humanity before, did not laugh. They remembered. Far below the surface, the awakening continued. Inside the cryogenic pods, human soldiers twitched as their bodies fought the weight of centuries. Their blood, enhanced with nanites, began to flow again. Their hearts, frozen solid, beat once more. Their minds flickered awake, memories rushing back like a storm. They did not wake confused. They woke with purpose. Each chamber had been programmed, with the same directive: wait until humanity's end, then rise. These were not ordinary men and women. They were super soldiers, engineered for a single role: vengeance. Their muscles had been strengthened, their reflexes sharpened, their loyalty sealed. They were not just humans anymore. They were Earth's last weapon. Above them, satellites that had slept for centuries flickered alive. Their sensors scanned the skies, tracking every alien fleet that orbited nearby. Old war codes, forgotten by the galaxy, lit up in hidden bunkers. Automated factories, buried deep within the crust, rumbled to life, producing ammunition, armor, and ships that had not been seen in generations. Earth was arming itself again. The galaxy's leaders ignored the signs at first. But soon, fear replaced arrogance. Reports came in from multiple systems. Probes near Earth were vanishing. Patrols sent too close never returned. Disturbances rippled across space as old human technology pulsed with life again. The ones who laughed before were silent now. The frozen warriors had not yet stepped onto the battlefield, but their presence was already felt. A shadow stretched across the galaxy, heavier than any armada. The humans were not gone. They were waiting, and now they were awake. The storm above Antarctica grew stronger. Winds howled across the frozen land, tearing snow into blinding white curtains. But beneath the surface, where the galaxy could not see, the storm was even greater. The chambers groaned as ancient locks clicked open. Frost shattered like glass as heavy lids slid aside, and for the first time in centuries human eyes opened again. The first warrior gasped for air, his chest heaving as frozen lungs filled with life. Steam poured from his mouth as if the ice itself was leaving his body. He did not scream, nor did he stumble. He rose like a machine switched on after centuries of silence. His mind was sharp, his purpose clear. His orders had been written long before he entered sleep. Wait until the end. Rise when hope is gone. Around him, more chambers cracked open. A chorus of breath echoed in the cavern as men and women stepped, free. Their bodies were stronger than before, their skin lined with subtle marks of genetic craft. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were enhanced to endure the impossible, faster reflexes, harder bones, muscles that could crush steel, and minds sharpened for war. They had been built to fight when humanity itself no longer could. The first warrior looked around the chamber. Thousands stood awakening beside him. Some still shook frost from their skin. Others stretched arms that had not moved for lifetimes. They did not question where they were or why they were awake. They already knew. The death of the last human had called them back. Humanity's story had not ended. It had only changed hands. In another chamber, deeper still, a woman stepped forward. Her eyes glowed with pale light as the nanites in her blood responded to the reactivation signal. She touched the wall, and the cavern itself obeyed her. Screens lit up. Machines began to hum. Ancient war codes appeared before her eyes, a flood of tactical data left behind by commanders long gone. She was not just a soldier. She was a leader, a commander meant to guide the frozen army when it awoke. Across the facility, the awakening spread like wildfire. Chambers opened row by row, the cavern filling with steam and heat. Weapons, sealed in vaults, rose from hidden racks. Armor unfolded from crates, fitting perfectly to the enhanced frames of the soldiers. Every step, every movement was practiced, precise, as if they had only been asleep for a single night. The galaxy had expected confusion, weakness, hesitation. Instead, Earth's warriors rose in silence and order, ready to fight. High above, in orbit, an alien listening post scanned Earth one last time. Their systems detected strange bursts of energy across the planet, ancient satellites realigning, factories waking, heat signatures spiking from deep below the ice. The crew panicked, sending warnings back to their empire. But before their message could travel far, a beam of light cut through the darkness. The post exploded into a shower of burning metal, silenced forever. Somewhere below, Earth's defense network had fired its first shot in centuries. The alien empires grew restless. Fleets gathered near Earth, waiting to see if the rumors were true. Some thought it impossible. Others knew better. Those who had fought humans in the old wars felt the weight of dread pressing on them. They remembered what humans were capable of, even without enhancements. What would happen now if thousands of frozen super soldiers marched back into the galaxy? Within the Antarctic base, the commander spoke at last. Her voice was calm but firm, echoing across the chamber. "Humanity has not died," she declared. "It has only slept, and now we rise not as one soldier but as an army." The warriors roared in response, the sound shaking the very walls. It was not just the cry of men and women. It was the cry of vengeance. Old warships buried in ice caverns began to rise, their engines lit for the first time in generations. breaking through glaciers, shattering frozen cliffs. The ground trembled as steel leviathans pushed upward, casting shadows against the storm above. One by one, ships that the galaxy had thought lost lifted into the sky. They had waited patiently, preserved like their crews, and now they were ready to fly again as the first warship pierced the clouds. The frozen soldiers watched with pride. This was the return of Earth's power, the rebirth of its fleet. Humanity had given everything, lost everything, and yet had prepared for this day. The galaxy's victory was an illusion. The true war had only just begun. And somewhere, across the stars, those who had celebrated humanity's end felt a chill. They had mocked the death of one soldier. They had laughed at the silence of Earth. But now, whispers spread through every corner of the galaxy. The humans were back. Not living humans, not ordinary humans, but something colder, sharper, and stronger. The galaxy had thought humanity was gone. They were wrong. Humanity had simply been waiting beneath the ice, and now their warriors were awake. The storm over Antarctica broke apart as fire streaked into the sky. Warships that had been buried for centuries clawed their way free from the ice, engines glowing like suns. They had slept as long as their soldiers had, hidden in caverns, waiting for the final signal. Now they roared to life, their hulls stronger than steel, their weapons sharper than the galaxy remembered. From orbit, alien fleets watched with disbelief. What they had thought impossible was unfolding before their eyes. Dozens of massive human warships rose from the frozen world, shaking off glaciers as if they were nothing but dust. The galaxy had celebrated too soon. Humanity's silence was not the silence of death. It was the silence before a storm. The first clash came quickly. A squadron of alien cruisers moved to intercept the rising ships, their captains confident in their numbers. But as the two forces met, that confidence shattered. Human warships fired in unison, their weapons striking with terrifying precision. Alien shields crumbled, hulls cracked. Ships that had been considered invincible were ripped apart in seconds. The frozen warriors aboard the ships did not hesitate. They moved with discipline, their training perfect, their purpose unshakable. For them, there was no fear, no doubt. They had been created for this war, shaped to bring vengeance. Every strike was calculated, every maneuver deadly. Across the galaxy, live feeds captured the battle. Millions of eyes watched in horror as the humans tore through fleets that had once humbled them. Leaders who had declared humanity extinct now stood silent, their words tasting like ash. The last human had fallen, but in his death, thousands had risen. On one alien world, an old general slammed his fist against the table as he watched the battle unfold. He had fought humans in the early wars and knew what was coming. They are not just soldiers, he whispered to his council. They are death itself, and they will not stop. Back in Earth's orbit, the alien cruisers broke formation. Panic spread through their ranks as more human warships ascended from the ice, their engines burning blue against the darkness. The sky above Antarctica glowed with light as dozens became hundreds. The galaxy had underestimated Earth's desperation, and now they would pay the price. The commander of the frozen army stood at the bridge of her flagship. Her eyes scanned the battlefield as data flooded her mind. She felt the weight of history pressing on her, but her voice was steady. "The galaxy believed us gone," she said, her words echoing through the comms. "Let them see the truth, fire at will." Her order unleashed fury. Human ships cut through enemy lines, their weapons painting the stars with fire. Alien fleets scattered, their formations collapsing as ships fell one after another. What had begun as a simple interception turned into a massacre. For the first time in generations, the galaxy felt true fear of Earth again. The empires that had hunted humanity believed they had won. Now they understood the terrible mistake they had made. In their arrogance, they had given humanity time. Time to prepare. Time to build something colder and deadlier than before. On planets across alien space, riots broke out. Citizens demanded answers. Wasn't humanity destroyed? Hadn't the war been won? How could this frozen army exist? The leaders who had promised peace had no answers. They had underestimated the one truth every species should have remembered: humans never surrender. The vengeance did not stop at Earth's orbit. Squadrons of warships launched into hyperspace, carrying the frozen warriors to the stars. Their mission was clear. The ones who had brought humanity to the edge of extinction would pay in full. For every fallen human, 1,000 enemies would fall. Alien fleets tried to regroup, sending reinforcements to Earth. But every attempt ended the same: ambushes, traps, brutal precision strikes. Human warships seemed to know their moves before they made them. It was as if the frozen warriors had been preparing for these battles all their lives. In truth, they had. Their commanders had left behind strategies, hidden codes, and battle plans that had waited centuries for this exact moment. Now they were being executed with ruthless perfection. The galaxy's arrogance collapsed into silence. Fear spread faster than fire. Rumors grew into legends, tales of glowing-eyed soldiers who fought like machines, ships that moved like ghosts, weapons that tore entire fleets apart. The name human was no longer spoken with contempt. It was spoken with terror. In the fao, dark of space after another victory, the commander looked out at the stars. Her face was calm, but her voice carried steel. "We are not here for survival," she said. "We are here for vengeance, and we will not stop until every empire that raised its hand against humanity burns." The war had returned, and this time, it would not be fought for survival. It would be fought for retribution. The galaxy had believed the last human was gone, but now they saw the truth. Humanity had risen from the ice, and Earth's vengeance had begun. The galaxy trembled. What had started as a spark on a dead world now burned like wildfire through the stars. Reports of human fleets spread from system to system, faster than light itself. Entire sectors that once mocked the death of humanity now whispered in fear at its return. On alien homeworlds, leaders hid behind layers of guards demanding answers from their generals. Armadas were thrown together in desperation, but none could stop what was coming. The frozen warriors of Earth did not march like survivors. They advanced like conquerors. Every world that had once raised arms against humanity now faced their wrath. The first empire to fall was the one that had claimed responsibility for killing the last human. Their fleets rushed to intercept the awakened army, but their resistance collapsed within days. Human warships tore through their defenses, while soldiers stormed their ground bases with unstoppable precision. Cities that had celebrated humanity's extinction were now silent, their streets filled with smoke and ruin. But the humans did not linger. They were not here to rule these worlds. They were here to make a message clear. Humanity was alive, and it would never be hunted again. Across the void, some species tried to negotiate. Envoys were sent with desperate pleas for peace. They promised friendship, tribute, anything to avoid destruction. But the frozen warriors had no ears for peace. Their hearts were cold, their mission sealed long before. They remembered the burning of Earth's cities, the cries of their people, the betrayal of so many who had joined the hunt against them. There could be no forgiveness. In the great halls of the alien councils, panic turned into collapse. Alliances shattered as old enemies turned on each other, hoping to buy time before the humans reached them. The galaxy, once united in hatred of Earth, now tore itself apart in fear of its return. Humanity did not need numbers. Their very presence broke the will of entire civilizations. The commander of the frozen army stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as reports came in from across the stars. Every victory was swift, every battle precise. Her soldiers never faltered. Their training, their enhancements, and their purpose drove them beyond exhaustion. They were not fighting for survival. They were fighting for justice, for vengeance, for the memory of the last human who had fallen. One night, as the stars glimmered through the viewport, the commander spoke to her warriors. Her voice carried, through the fleet, steady and sharp. The galaxy thought humanity was gone. They thought they could erase us, but look around you now. We are back, stronger than ever. Not just men and women, not just soldiers. We are Earth's fury, born from silence and ice, and we will burn a path through every star until our people are remembered with fear and respect. Her words became a vow, etched into the minds of every frozen warrior. From that day forward, the galaxy would not speak of humans as a weak or dying race. They would speak of them as a force that even extinction could not destroy. The humans did not stop. System after system fell before them. Factories once thought abandoned were seized and turned into forges of war. Shipyards hidden beneath black suns came alive, producing vessels that had never been seen before. The galaxy's strongest fleets could not keep pace. Wherever they tried to resist, they were swept aside like dust in a storm. For the common people of alien worlds, the humans, became legends and nightmares both. Some whispered that they were not even alive anymore, that they were ghosts of vengeance risen from the dead to punish the living. Others believed they were gods, sent to deliver judgment. But the truth was simpler and far more terrifying. They were human, and that was enough. At last, when the first great empires lay broken and silent, the humans paused. Their fleets gathered above a captured world, their warships casting shadows that covered continents. The commander stood before her people once more, her eyes glowing in the dim light of the bridge. The galaxy thought we were gone, she said, her words echoing like thunder. But humanity never dies. We do not fade. We do not surrender. When we fall, we rise again. Stronger, colder, unstoppable. Her army answered with a roar that shook the stars, and so the galaxy learned its final lesson. Humanity was not just back, it was eternal. From the ashes of extinction, from the silence of ice, from the fall of one soldier, 1,000 warriors had risen. The frozen army had awakened, and with it, Earth itself had returned to the stars. The galaxy would never forget again humanity was home.